Hey, Michael.
Hey, my name is Michael. I'm a water testing specialist. We are Home Depot service provider, and I represent the company called Kinetico, which is the top-rated consumer report company in the United States. And we're here with Andrew, Drew, to test his water and I explain what's going on. Okay, we're located in New York City. So New York City sends out the quality report for all the homeowners. So you can go to library or dep.org,
Right.
and all the languages they say everything is okay with water. Translate it and read it, and don't tell us that we didn't warn you what's going on. Out of big city water ratings, out of 150 biggest cities, New York is not number one, like some people
A lot of
think.
people have told
yeah,
us.
yeah, we are number 41,
Right.
which is not the worst, but not the best either.
Maybe they mean that the New York water is the best tasting.
No, it's not because of that. It's just because every frog, bribes about her swamp. Because you go to Maine, they're gonna swear they have the best water. You go to Pocono, they say no, we have the best water. In Alaska, people are gonna laugh. I was like, we have wilderness, we have the best water.
Right.
So, but if to go by the facts, you have to understand that our water comes from all the way from upstate, hundreds of miles away. By the time the water travels all the way to New York City, and Staten Island is kind of like in the end of the tunnel, okay? The water, they say, the water may have contaminants like including microbiological contaminants and organic contaminants, pesticides, herbicides, organic contaminants, and even radioactive contaminants.
Radioactive
Yes.
contaminants.
Why do you think they mention this? It's in our water,
Right.
and they have to disclose it. Now, whatever the millions of cars put pollution, they don't put flour dust in the air. You have all these, things come up, eventually go down. Pesticides, herbicides, pharmaceuticals, people pee out, and stuff like that. Everything nothing goes to space. Everything stays on the planet. By the time it collects, like from the dumps, former garbage dumps, and gets into aquifers, the water has to travel through Delaware Aqueduct, which is the water tunnel tube, which been around for almost 150 years, 150 years old. Rain, water, rats, mice, pooping, dying inside they're building the new one. Remember the Bruce Willis driving?
Yeah.
That was the new one they were building. Okay, that's how big it is. That you can fit the truck inside this thing.
Wow.
But the water travels through this, and obviously the water, in order for the water, like this is regular tap water. I got 3 samples of tap water and the other water. Like if I ask you, does this water look clear to you?
Yeah.
Like to your eyes?
To the visible eye, yes.
Yeah, you see the bottom. I brought with me a sample of the water that we know it's pure. We call it H2O. If I put them side by side, take a look. Well, because what happens when the water travels through the tunnels and stuff like that, they have to treat it, and the water goes through treatment plant, and they use not candy, they use harsh chemical, like 7, 8 different, like aluminum sulfide, sodium chloride, fluoride, bromine, and so on. Because their number one priority, not us, to protect the main pipes of New York City, because they cannot replace them until they completely rotten out. So they trying to drag it as long as possible.
So you're saying the chemicals that they put in there are not necessarily for keeping the water clean.
No,
it's to protect the pipe.
Protect the pipes. Yes, mostly. Imagine this is the water, New York City water mains.
Wow.
Imagine your soup traveling 100 miles through the pipe like this. Would you eat that soup?
Absolutely.
Probably not. Well, a lot of people don't realize that it has to go from house to house, boiler to boiler, pipe to pipe. And one of the biggest mistake people said, because New York City does have elevated level of lead once in a while, depending on the building, how old it is. You can have a brand new home, but you are connected to the water main, and they're not going to replace it until it's completely rotten out.
So they know that there's a lot of lead in the water.
Yes, because up to 1986 they were using lead to solder pipes together. So, and that's why New York City says, and one of the most common mistake people do, they say, I don't drink tap water, I boil it. Well, boiling actually makes the water worse, not better. Because like I said, in the 19th century, there was no chemicals, and you boil the water and it kills bacteria and it's safe. Now that you have a lead, you see 311, they say, do not boil water to remove lead. Boiling will not remove lead, it will actually concentrate it.
Wow.
So what happens is when the water boils, the steam, it's a distilled water evaporating and leaving the pot, and all the chemicals concentrate, and the more we boil it, the more concentrated it becomes. So when we're gonna test your boiled water, even if it's after filtration, you'll see that this is actually gonna be your worst water in the house.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, when the water travels through the water tunnels with rats and mice, and the water comes from the lake where fish pooping and dying and stuff, obviously we don't want to have epidemics. So do me a favor, try a little sip of this water first. This is filtered water.
Okay.
And try a little bit of this because we
I
don't
don't
have
really
to.
drink tap water.
Well, just a sip, for the experiment sake. And try a little bit of tap water, just to
It's
compare.
the first time in a long time.
Well, you think so, but you do.
It tastes.
Tastes like a little chemically a little bit.
Yeah.
Like some people refer it as a heavy taste. Now, I can get used to a lot of things. If I cross Gutless Bridge, you know how it stinks there?
Yeah.
People live there. They're like, oh, I don't smell. They get used to it. Like you go into the public bathroom first. It stinks after a few minutes. It smells like roses. You get used to it. Now, what you felt there, it's mostly chlorine and disinfectants. Do you know what chlorine does? Why they add chlorine to the water?
To kill the bacteria.
Yeah, the key word is kill living organism and bacteria.
Wow.
You and I are living organism, and even the cat. Do we have bacteria for digestion in our stomach?
Yes.
Do you think chlorine right now cares what you have inside?
No.
It's there to kill everything. This is the pool test. I'm just gonna grab the paper towel.
Okay.
This is the pool test. You know how if we swim in the swimming pool, we smell chlorine because it's an open surface, and the chlorine evaporates constantly. So they have to constantly add chlorine into the water. So if you go to Home Depot or Pool Supply, they sell a test kit for the pool. You see, it says to check how much chlorine in the pool.
Okay.
They say this is when you add chlorine. This is ideal. This is way too much. I'm putting 5 drops. This is what it says. Add 5 drops chlorine test solution,
Okay.
which will, if there is a chlorine, it will turn it yellow, and depending on the scale, that's how much chlorine you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is filtered water, and this is not filtered.
Okay.
The one that has chlorine, the water starts to react. The one that doesn't,
Oh wow.
nothing.
The
happens.
tap water is getting yellow.
Yeah, it's getting yellow. Yeah, I know you don't see this chlorine in here, right?
Which one is that?
This is also tap water.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Do me a favor, stick your fingers inside, like 3, 4 fingers all the way down, like, and hold it there. Just imagine you're doing manicure. Okay. The reason why I ask you to do this because if you go to DEP report, New York State require following statement. People who drank chlorinated drinking water for 20, 30 years shows it's associated with increase of certain types of cancer, liver, kidney, nervous system, and ability to bear healthy offspring. Why do you think New York states that? Have you been drinking 20 years?
Yeah.
Will you be drinking for 20 years?
Yeah.
Hospital's not empty? Cemetery full of people?
Yep.
As long as they disclose it, you can't sue them in case in the future you get sick, because it's a disclosure.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you see the color-wise, like this is when you add, this is ideal, this is way too much. If I look at it, says like somewhat ideal, right? Mm-hmm. The only problem is, this is the test for the pool.
Oh, this is ideal. That color
is ideal for the pool.
not for drinking.
Yeah. Well, when is the last time you came up to the pool and start cooking? Right. Now, you buy organic food, vegetables. You say you don't drink tap water, but you do. Because what happens is every time when you take a shower, okay, your skin is the biggest organ that we have. Yeah. And every time when we take a shower, if the water is not filtered, I know you mentioned that you do have a filter, but a lot of people don't. This is Dr. Oz.
What people don't recognize, and this is perhaps the most important thing I'm going to say today, because a lot of you know there's a problem here. You don't recognize you've got a problem here, which is the water we bathe in and shower in. Now, tell moms right now, and I don't want to hedge on this, I don't think that you should be bathing your kids in the tub unless you know that water's clean. Because what ends up happening is the water's got chlorine in it, chloroform, other chemicals and byproducts get into the water. It's warm. That opens up the pores of the child. Child bathes in the water. All those chemicals get absorbed through the skin because the skin is very absorptive, and your child, therefore, is being contaminated.
Painkillers, blood thinners, and chemotherapy drugs are just some of the substances that are found in your drinking water. There's new information that some drugs are ending up in our water at levels never seen before. CBC's Kelly Crow has more on that.
There's something happening to the rainbow darter, a tiny fish that lives in the rivers of southern Ontario. If they're downstream from a sewage treatment plant, the male fish turn into females.
If you expose them to wastewater, they will feminize. They will have eggs in the testes.
What's causing the males to develop eggs? Human hormones, residue from prescription drugs that are flushed into the river. Using new highly sensitive equipment, scientists are finding an increasing variety of prescription drugs in the waterways. Painkillers, blood thinners, chemotherapy agents, hormones, antibiotics. If we swallow it, scientists can find it in the water.
Some of the drug comes in us and through us and out of us totally unchanged. So we actually have active drugs going into the waterway through our urine or feces.
Last month, a study of First Nations communities found levels of 3 prescription drugs in one southern Ontario river that were the highest in North America. And an unpublished Health Canada survey of tap water across the country found traces of prescription drugs in drinking water. Mark Servos is the lead author.
There are pharmaceuticals, as we expected, that are widely distributed in surface waters going into drinking water plants, and very low concentrations are detectable, but the concentrations are very, very low.
They're very low in concentrations. On the other hand, we have to be concerned because there's a mixture of these drugs that we're being exposed to in drinking water, and so that's some cause for concern.
So in other words, millions of people who take medicine, we pee it out.
Right.
Where does it go? We all live downstream from somebody. Nothing goes to space. If it's enough for male fish to turn females, who knows how it's affecting a child when they're developing hormones and so on.
This breaks way into a whole different discussion.
Yeah, well, do you know how many water supplies in the country filter out pharmaceutical out of sewage?
None.
0.
Yeah.
Nobody. So when I was growing up, the word allergy didn't exist. We didn't know what allergy was like. It wasn't. Now it's everywhere because there's chemicals here and here. We see pharmaceutical. 41 million Americans drinking water with their medicine inside, and over a long period of time, nobody knows how it's affected. You drinking your water, and there's somebody else's medicine, and that filter in the shower filter doesn't remove it. The biggest problem, and this is the most important thing we're trying to educate people, they check each chemical individually. They don't tell us how they work all together. For example, I saw the liquor store on the corner right here. Mm-hmm. Okay, if I drink a sip of wine and the cop pulls me over, he can arrest me for a sip of wine, correct? What if I drink sip of wine, sip of vodka, sip of cognac, champagne, whiskey, marijuana, and all of it, whatever they have in the store? Will I be drunk?
Yeah.
Will I go to jail?
Mm-hmm.
But individually, it's okay. You understand?
See the point.
Together, nobody tells you how it's affected. And with age, only cognac and wine become better.
Health alert. A new investigation by Consumer Reports finds several brands of bottled water contain concerning levels of arsenic. And that's not all. Joy is joining us live to tell us what else this new investigation is revealing. Joy?
Well, Mary, this is probably the most surprising part of this study. Consumer Reports found that some bottled water might not be as safe as the tap water you drink.
The federal limit for arsenic in bottled water is 10 parts per billion, but Consumer Reports says that limit should be changed to no more than 3 parts per billion. A Consumer Reports review of public records and its own independent tests found Keurig Dr. Pepper-owned Penefiel had water that tested above the federal limit, with arsenic levels at 17 parts per billion. It has since told Consumer Reports it stopped production at its manufacturing plant to improve arsenic filtration. The Consumer Reports review also found several other popular brands, including Crystal Geyser Alpine Spring Water and Volvic, sell bottled water that is federally compliant, but above what growing research suggests may be unsafe to drink.
Arsenic is a heavy metal that, with chronic exposure over time, can cause serious health problems, including cancer and cardiovascular disease. It really makes no sense that consumers can purchase bottled water that is less safe than tap water.
The Nestle Control Company has a good portion of our food, making them a huge advertiser in corporate media. But recently, a new study emerged that once again provides some bad news for Nestle and countless other corporations that sell